Just when you thought things would turn the corner, the Cleveland Cavaliers continue to show that they not even fool's gold. They just bad. They just suck. And chill, I'm starting to think that you're the man responsible for cursing that team. But we're going to get into it, man. The Cleveland Cavaliers might miss the playoffs this year somehow. It has just been an insane season for them.
I'm thinking to myself, Swiper, what you just said. To miss the playoffs, I think it would be worse than what's going on with the Clippers. Because I'm considering what the Clippers are doing. Right, the Clippers are a game and a half behind New Orleans for the worst record in the Western Conference. I picked the Cavs to win the NBA championship this year. For them to miss the playoffs, I think that would be way more catastrophic because I expected what I'm expecting from the Clippers. Like, they're old. I didn't expect them to be this bad. I ain't going to argue that point. I didn't expect them to be this bad. But I expected them. I didn't expect what I expected from the Cavs. And for the Cavs to miss the playoffs. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, Damian. I mean, just so we're clear, as of right now, even though they're in ninth place, they're a game and a half out the 3 spot. So we're a week away from some good basketball back to hosting the playoff series. That's where we are with the Cavs. But it has not looked good. No, it has not looked good at all with this Cavs team.
I think they're really lucky that to your point, that hasn't been catastrophic to the point where you're completely out of the playoff picture already. Like the East is, you can go on a run in the East, like we've seen the losing streaks with Miami, for example, and you slip down the standings very quickly. But on the other end, if the Cavs go on a run with these games coming up and they're getting healthier, they can be right back in the mix. Like they're obviously still above 500, but it just hasn't looked good. I think the way in which they're losing is a bit worrying, and they have a bunch of questions. And I think when things go wrong, Chill, it's not usually just one thing. It's usually a combination of things. And I think they have a lot going on over there, which hasn't been working. So a little bit worrying, but I think they can turn it around, especially with the way Donovan Mitchell's playing.
Darius Garland has been pedestrian at best, Swiper. I mean, I'm used to, over the course of not just last year, but even in years past, I'm used to one of the best ball handlers in the game, one of the better distributors in the game, one of the better point guards in the game being that. His ability to score has just looked pedestrian. He doesn't look nearly as athletic. I don't think that because the injury isn't bothering me more than just his play at the lead guard spot. Like, he doesn't get downhill like he used to. And it's not that he's only 25 years old. He doesn't get downhill like he used to. His decision making, it looks very indecisive. His shot selection is not nearly as sharp as it was 2 years ago, a year ago. He doesn't look nearly as confident. And I can appreciate the logic of him coming off injury. Yes, I can definitely appreciate that. But I can't keep using that. At some point, we have to get past that. Right? Is this who you are? Are you an injury-prone guy who I'm just going to have to just deal with you being injury-prone for the rest of your career? Or is this just something that's I'm going to have to deal with right now, and then eventually you'll get back to who you are? And relying on guys like Porter and Tyson, relying on guys like that, who actually Porter and Tyson have actually been really good, but having to rely on those guys more than having to rely on Evan Mobley and having to rely on Jared Allen. As a box, some people are box score watchers, but to see Mars, we had this conversation a couple of days ago. We talked about Trey Jones and how bad he's been in terms of the box score. It's been really worse. It was worse. Jared Allen, Tyus Jones. I'm sorry, Tyus Jones. Like the 6 rebounds you see in the box score from Jared Allen, it was way worse than that on the floor. It was way worse than what you saw on the floor. He couldn't slip a block out last night. Not only could he not slip a block out, he faltered on a number of rebounds, offensive rebounds that he could have had that could have kept them in the game. They got out-toughed last night. And one of my biggest issues with Cleveland coming into this season was the toughness. I was worried about how tough this team is, and could that be an issue with them? And it still is. In addition to, in terms of the talent, and I said this to you already, Swiper, when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they remind me a lot of what your Denver Nuggets were in years past, when they relied so much on Joker to do everything for them. And when Joker isn't doing it, it's almost like nothing else is going on. And it's just not, it just hasn't been good. It has not been. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, Damian. They're a game and a half out the 3rd spot. If they can put it together within this 27-game stretch where they could go on a 8-10 game run, because Memphis is doing it. I mean, Memphis has won 9 of their last 12. So, I mean, if the Cavs can put something together like that, they could be right back in the middle of this thing.
Do they need to make any trades?
No, here's the thing, Ox, and I'm an advocate of this. Stop letting these guys off the hook. Stop letting these guys off the hook with this trade logic. Do your job. We put this group together. This group has been together for 3 or 4 years now, and the thing that's been hampering them has been injury. Outside of the injury, you have the talent, and you've added some talent to the group. Lonzo Ball was awful yesterday. He was awful.
Yeah, he been awful the whole season. We ain't gonna say yesterday. He been awful the whole season. That's what it is.
Well, that just adds to it. Let me rephrase that. Him being awful yesterday just adds to it. So I'm sounding like a broken record when it comes to him. Stop letting these guys off the hook with we need to make this trade. We need to make that trade. Get on your job.
Right.
Do better.
Quick, before you move on, though, Swiper, real quick. I just want to ask though, and I brought it up yesterday. First, I was saying yesterday like we should just be happy to see Lonzo, and I know that you wasn't feeling that, right, Chill? But how much can you honestly expect from a kid that hasn't played basketball in 2 years? You know, he's just getting back into the flow of basketball. Do we expect Lonzo to be like a huge positive for this basketball team, especially?
I expected him to make shots. Everything, I think he does everything else I expected him to do. Like I said, I think he's been good on defense. I think he's a smart player. He pushes the pace in transition. Like he does all of those things. But when you shoot, like I think he's shooting like sub 30% from the field, 25% from three, something like that. Like you're just a non-factor on the court offensively, regardless of like all the other things you do. Like he plays hard, he'll crash the glass, or like he does all of the like, yay. But at the end of the day, he gets ignored on offense, and that's a problem.
Well,
I expect
Mars,
to make sure.
That's like riding a bike though. When you're a hooper, you can always play ball. You know what I mean? Like you can always make the right pass. You can always give effort. You can always do that type of stuff. I think if that's in you, that's just a part of the game. Like you're never not gonna be able to play basketball. But when and y'all talk to me about rhythm all the time, and y'all talk to me about rhythm within one game. So I think if you talk about rhythm that way, where you'll tell me if a guy doesn't touch the rock, 5 possessions down,
trips,
he's not going to really be able to produce the way you want him to. So if a guy doesn't touch the ball for 2 seasons down, do we really expect him to be that level of
Ox, he played last year in Chicago, Ox, just so you know. He played last year in Chicago.
He ain't shoot this bad in Chicago. He ain't shoot well. He ain't shoot this bad.
Yeah,
but
he played in Chicago.
But he got back. Wasn't it like late in the season when he got back?
He played like 30 games. He just kept dealing with a wrist injury, so he didn't play like the whole year. He played like 30 games. Shot like 34 from 3. Like if he was shooting 34 from 3, that would be a big improvement from what he's doing right now.
He needs a little grace, fellas. Lonzo needs a little grace.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're,
I think the problem is though. Like when. I think it's the biggest problem is the contrast, right? The contrast from last season. So they just lost their 13th game. Last year, they lost their 13th game in March, not in December. And they were rolling. And I think that the problem is, like I said, there's been a bunch of things. Chill, you spoke about it, Garland's injury. I think Max Strus being out, he's a big part of their rotation, hasn't helped. A knockdown 3-point shooter. Doesn't look like Mobley's taken the step. We start to question the fit with Mobley and Jarrett Allen. Then we question the fit with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I still think they're looking for that wing. We thought DeAndre Hunter was that. They're not getting the wing production from him. Like we said, Lonzo Ball still trying to find his shot, still trying to find his place in the offense when we thought he was going to be a big piece and give them lots of optionality and he can potentially finish games because Garland can't be out there defending some of these bigger guards. They just got no defensive identity for me. I think they got no dogs too. Like Ox, you mentioned it as well. Like there's a level of physicality that they don't bring every night. Does a guy like Dylan Brooks change their identity if they had someone like that? It's something that maybe they should look at before the trade deadline, in my opinion, to build some of that defensive identity. And it's a shame, man, because Donovan Mitchell's been hooping. He's the only player in the league to make over 100 threes. But they're 28th in the league in 3-point percentage as a team, so it's not really adding up all around. But we can only hope.
Everything they're doing, Damian, is him. Everything they're doing, Damian, is him. Everything. Like the reason why their offense is in the top 10 in the league, it's because of him. The reason why their 3-point percentage is what it is because of him. Their ability to pass, all of that stuff is because of him. Like without him, they would be at the bottom of the league. And I hate the fact that they rely on him so much to do everything when they actually have one of two things is going on. Either they don't have the talent and I overlooked it, or they have the talent and I'm overplaying it. Something's going on there that's just not correct.
So at this point last year, they were 23-4.
Rolling.
Yeah. There were points of last season where we were legitimately wondering if, because the East is so weak, is this the team that's about to break the Warriors record? It's weird because Damien's mentioning, you know, the 13th loss came in March. That was after things started to go wrong for them a little bit. And it's weird to say that a team that won 60 plus games had anything go wrong for them, but they did slip. They had a 4-game losing streak, you know, Orlando, Clippers, Kings, Suns last year in March. And that's largely how they got those losses. So, you know, I don't know. This is a team that is like, when does Mobley and Allen stop working? At some point, you were, you know, a really good team with those guys. I just don't think they're hitting shots. That's it. It's that simple. They take a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of them. And some of their gunners haven't played. And a lot of their gunners, frankly, aren't gunning. It's
That's
that
fair.
simple.
It was during that stretch too, Swiper, that he said about that West Coast swing. That's when I thought that Anthony Edwards was going to overtake Donovan Mitchell as a first-team All-Pro, because they went out west and they just stunk. I mean, they ended up losing those 4 games, and I was like, that's the separator right there. Anthony Edwards is going to be a first-team All-Pro over Donovan Mitchell. And I was actually surprised that he made first-team All-Pro even after that. So it's interesting you bring that up.
Well, the funny thing is, Penn, you know, I was looking at the numbers. So when Allen and Mobley are on the floor this year, they actually have a plus 12.5 net rating, the 125 offensive rating, 112 defensive rating, but it's only 199 minutes. So do you think some of the spin is that they just haven't had enough time to have their guys on the floor all at once that are healthy enough to play together?
Sure, I think that's a huge part of it. And I think that they're necessitated by a large part because Darius Garland sucks on defense.
He does.
A really, really bad defender. Like,
he does.
No hope, no instincts, nothing. Just really bad and really small. And then you add in, you know, the fact that I think Max Strus makes a huge difference. Huge difference. You know, so it's just a compounding
thing. I mean, we've seen small league guards compete on the defensive end. We've seen Kyle Lowry compete on the defensive end. We've seen Chris Paul compete on the right, but that's the point. But it ain't because he's small. That's not the problem. Because again, Kyle Lowry competes on the defensive end.
Kyle Lowry kind of built like a scat back though, Chill.
But he's still small. Even if he is built, even if he is wide shoulders, wide hips, paws, even if he is built like that, he's still small, right? He's 6 feet, maybe 6'1" at best. He ain't like he's 6'5". With that being said, just because you're small does not mean that you can't compete on the defensive end. And Darius Garland, I have a really difficult time watching him not be able to stay in front of people for a significant amount of time. It's almost like he's a doormat. Like Olay, it's not that difficult to get past him. And his ability to recover is just terrible. I'm having a tough time with it. I am.
He's one of the most experienced rosters. They have some of the most continuity going from last year to this year. The East is absolutely worse. It is. I don't care what anyone says about the depth. It is worse. And this team is struggling. So I did not expect them to lose last night against Chicago, but I probably should have. Probably should have expected that. So, you know, they got to have some deep conversations about what are we trying to do this year, right? Because, you know, they looked chill. Again, I don't want to harp on the past because that is the past and it's a different team now. Do you remember what they did to Miami in the playoffs?
Smoked them dudes, made quick work of them.
It didn't even look like Miami was an NBA team. I had never seen an Eric Spoelstra team lose that badly. It was like, wow, I understand they got injuries, but holy crap, there's a gap. And then what Indiana did to them, I just feel like, I don't know. They just haven't looked the same.
It was 2 different teams.
Totally
2 different teams.
My man,
completely 2 different.
My man Josh Giddey was giving Garland work last night. Man.
Served him.
But we really have to remember we had this team. Most people had this team as like coming out of the East this year. This was like the make or break year. Are they the most expensive roster in the league? I think they might be. I think it's them. So
I gotta know, Penn. I've asked Chill. I've asked this before. I want to ask y'all again. Why is this the make or break year? These dudes are still young. I don't understand if they don't win the East or win the championship.
Well, it's largely because your best pieces are in that like contention window right now, right? Like Donovan Mitchell is very, very much in the peak of his powers. I don't think it's
This
going to
is where
get
we are with
so
him.
much better. I don't think it's going to get much worse next
Donovan
year.
Mitchell
It's
doesn't
kind
need
of
to get better.
Turn
no,
your
he
mic up a little
doesn't.
bit,
He's
Al.
awesome. Darius Garland, I think, is this year 6 or 7 for him. Mobley's year 5.
Darius Garland showed up in 20.
So yeah, I mean, like this is right around the time, like you put in all those reps, you do deep playoff runs to eventually get to a point where you can compete for a championship. And this is that year. The East is wide open. Their pieces are in their primes. They've invested in like veterans across the board. You know, Sam Merrill's an investment, Lonzo's an investment, DeAndre Hunter's an investment. All these dudes are investments. And by the way, some of your young players are actually hitting. Like Jalen Tyson's good. So it's not like you're super
Porter's
top
good.
heavy team and you know, like you're depleted. Like, no, like you and typically Ox, like, you know, it takes groups like sometimes like 2, 3, 4 failures to get through and break over, right? Typically.
Right.
Not always, but typically. So I mean, like, yeah, like I think it'd be very disingenuous to say this is not the most disappointing team in the NBA other than the Clippers.
Do you think with what we have going on right now with the collective bargaining agreement, because you know things get expensive, Ox. You know, as time goes on, things get really expensive, especially for a market like Cleveland. Like we can't afford to keep doing this year after year. Do you think that Boston Celtic team with the current collective bargaining agreement that we have, if we had this 4 or 5 years ago, you think that Boston Celtic team would have been able to stay together for as long as they stayed together? Because I don't think that they would have. That second apron, I think, would have wrecked them. I don't think that they would have been able to hold on to Jaylen Brown. I don't think they would have been able to hold on to Jason Tatum. So with this current group that they have, we're in year 4 now with Mitchell and Mobley and Allen and Darius Garland. We're in year 4 now.
Projection-wise, Chill, so when you look back at that trade and what it cost to get Donovan Mitchell, would you say they've had a net positive return as an organization?
Well, Mars and I had this conversation about this when they first got him. The idea was they had just they were in the play-in tournament the year before. You get Donovan Mitchell, and I thought that they were a playoff team that year, which they were. And then the next year, I thought that they were going to win a playoff series, which they did. Last year, I thought that they were an Eastern Conference Finals team, and I thought they were on their way to doing that, but injuries derailed that. And then this is the season that I thought that
Miles Turner derailed that, honestly.
No, if
Well,
that team is healthy, they absolutely beat the Pacers last year.
I do. I think that they beat them.
They
I do.
absolutely
I
beat
think
the Pacers last year.
yeah.
If that team is healthy.
I do.
And that's,
Yeah.
and that's,
I think
that's-
it would have been
that's
tough.
why-
The
that's what I'm
Pacers were
saying.
kind of riding like a crazy high at that point.
They were. I mean, they were. Yeah, they were. But that Cleveland team, if they're healthy, I believe, and so I'm just going to tell you what I believe. I believe that they beat that Pacers team. And so that's even more to my point. Like, why would you blow this team up? Yeah, if you maybe you got to move the other guys around a little bit. Maybe DeAndre Hunter, Dean Wade, Sam Merrill, Lonzo Ball. Maybe those guys aren't it. Maybe you move around some of those guys. Get another big wing. I don't know. Maybe Darius Garland and Jared Allen maybe they do got to go. I don't know, but I just don't think so. I think you can work with this team. On top of that, maybe Coach Snyder, maybe he has to come with a different scheme. Maybe Coach got to coach.
Atkinson.
They have they're $87 million over the cap right now.
Snyder's in
Too.
Atlanta.
Atkins, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, Coach Atkinson.
Right. Atkins, you're right.
I mean, their real coach is in Phoenix.
I wouldn't say Kenny's not their real coach. They definitely are missing part of their identity, though. But to
their
your point
offense,
earlier, $87 million over the cap for a team that is, the teams that are most over the cap right now are the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Golden State Warriors, the Dallas Mavericks, Los Angeles Lakers, and then Ox's Sacramento Kings falling right after that, and then the New York Knicks. So, it's
expensive.
Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. And I think, Chill, we're talking about it at this point. I don't think it's a matter of blowing it up because of the timeline, but paying that amount of money for this kind of return, because you might remember if you get into repeater tax, that repeater tax multiplies every year. So where your bill goes from 100, 200, 400, 600, it just keeps going. So that's the problem with the CBA. The CBA was designed to keep super teams from being built. Well, it was primarily designed so owners had a reasoning not to pay players a certain amount of money. But then the next one was to make sure super teams don't get built But now the problem is you got this team that's not a super team. They just happen to have a lot of expensive players because, they hit on their draft. Evan Mobley hit. Darius Garland hit. They traded for Donovan Mitchell. He hit. Jared Allen hit. And then you got like DeAndre Hunter. That was a great trade at the time. Dean Wade, I think, is a good player. They have good players. It's just, it just takes more than good players. It takes a really great culture to win a championship.
It's the panel. Religion get built on cam. Where the check throw smoke and the host go ham. You ain't never seen hoops all hit the raw. Every take got weight, every night we drop. This that barbershop. Courtside, worldwide tone. Welcome to the only show that really feel like numbers jumping like the score.